we're sharing a game so new you can't even buy it yet. We're previewing a kids game just coming to Kickstarter.
Let's learn how to play Game of Hunt! Welcome to How to Play, but we play learn. I'm Packet.
And I'm Briggs. Today we're previewing Game of Hunt, a new game available on Kickstarter right now. Sweet Troll Game shared a prototype for us to check out.
So let's jump right in!
First, let's learn a little more about the game.
This is a game for 1 to 6 players. Games are 15 to 20 minutes long.
And it's for ages 5 and older. Plus, it's a cooperative game and can help build team problem-solving skills. So now, let's find out how to play.
Game of Hunt is not like most other games. First, it's a cooperative game. Instead of playing against each other, players work together to beat the game.
But that's not all that makes it different. The storage for all the game pieces is magnetically attached to the top of the book. And even better, most of the pieces are magnetic too. No more worrying about someone bumping the board and totally messing up your game.
And one more special thing. It's not just one game. There are actually 4 games included, all in this cute book packaging.
Now, don't worry, these aren't 4 completely different games you'll have to learn. They all have the same basic setup and game mechanics, but with some little changes between games to keep things interesting. Once you've learned one of them, the rest will be easy to understand.
Today we'll teach you the first game in the book, Trash Monster. Then we'll highlight the 3 other games as well.
First, open your book to the board you'll be playing, then shuffle all the cards together and place them next to the board. Now, look at the board and you'll see a setup table. This table has the setup details for the game based on the number of players.
The top row shows a number of obstacles needed. A 3-player game will need 7 total, like it shows here. For Trash Monster, you can use house or rock pieces as the obstacles.
To place them on the board, flip over the top card from the deck. On the bottom right corner of the card, you'll find coordinates. Look at the board and you'll see a matching letter and number grid. Flip over a card for each obstacle and place it on that spot on the board. A couple notes about placing obstacles. If the board you're playing doesn't have those coordinates or the space is blocked, just draw a new card to use. Also, do not completely block off any areas of the map with obstacles. If the coordinates on a card would do this, draw a new card instead.
Next, you'll put trash on the board. For these, use these small wooden cubes. Check the setup table to find out how many you'll use. You'll place them on the board using the coordinates on the cards, just like the obstacles.
Know that players can move through trash, so you don't need to worry it will block off areas like the obstacles. Place the rest of the wood cubes near the board because you'll be adding more later. Then take the brown pawn, this will be the Trash Monster. Draw a card to find his starting position and place him on the board. After that, deal 5 cards to each player. It's okay if the other players see your cards. In fact, you will probably want them to so you can coordinate during the game.
Now each player chooses a side of the board to sit at. In this game, which side you sit on actually matters. You'll see exactly why when we talk about movement in the gameplay section.
For now, just know that you can pick a side based on the starting cards you get. Or it can be helpful to make sure you have players on different sides for more options while playing. But multiple players can also sit on the same side. Players then each pick a pawn and place it on a starting spot of their choice. You can start anywhere on the map, including the same space as another player, just not on obstacles. You can even start on trash cubes if you want. After that, put the black timer pawn on the time track at the bottom of the board. Place it on the numbers shown in the setup table. This is how many rounds you will have to win the game. Last, pick a player to go first.
And now, you're ready to play.
Each of the 4 games has a cute story to go along with it. These stories set the theme and also explain what you'll need to do to win the game. Complete that objective before the timer pawn reaches 0 and your team wins. But if the timer hits 0 first, your team loses. In Trash Monster, a lonely monster has wandered into your town and he's making a big mess of it. He keeps dropping trash unless someone is playing with him. To win, clean up your town by collecting all the trash. But watch out, the monster will drop even more trash if you don't keep him busy.
No matter which of the games you're playing, a player's turn has 4 parts. 3 of these will be the same for all of the games. Number 1, perform player actions. Number 2, draw cards.
Number 3, perform an action for the game. This will be specific to the game you're playing and tied to that game's objective. And number 4, move the timer pawn if you're the last player in the round.
Once you have done all of these, the next player will go, with turn order going clockwise around the table. So let's take a closer look at each of these steps.
On your turn, you can perform up to 3 player actions. These actions are how you complete your objective. All 4 of the games have the same 5 actions you can take. And Trash Monster has the 6th extra action the others don't have. Know that you can repeat the same action multiple times on your turn if you'd like.
The first action, move, is the one you'll use the most. Place a direction card from your hand into the discard pile and move 1 space in the direction it shows.
Now, there's a special thing about the direction cards, and this is why it matters which side you sit on for this game. The direction your pawn moves is always based on where you're sitting, not the orientation of the board. Here's an example with 3 players sitting on different sides of the board. The same up card would move them all in different directions as shown here. Only player 3 would move towards the top of the board.
When moving, you cannot move through or onto obstacles. This includes the ones you placed on the board, but also obstacles built into the board. The built-in obstacles are all outlined in red, like the fence is shown here for Trash Monster.
The second action, objective action, will do something a little different for each game, but in every game you will need to discard a card showing a hand to do it. For Trash Monster, the objective action cleans up a trash cube from the space your pawn is standing on. Take the trash cube off your space and place it back into the pile next to the board. The third action for all the games is teleport. Discard the teleport card and move your pawn to any space on the board. There's only 1 teleport card in the whole deck, so use it wisely. The fourth action is swapping cards. You can swap as many cards as you want with another player. You do have to swap the same number of cards, and both players have to agree to the trade.
The fifth action is discard. You can discard as many cards as you like and draw the same number from the deck.
For Trash Monster only, there's also that 6th action. It is play with the Trash Monster. If your pawn is on the same space as the Trash Monster, you can discard a hand card to play with the monster. If you play with the monster, you get to skip taking an action for the game on your turn. We'll talk about that more in just a minute.
So after the player takes their 3 actions, they move to the draw card part of their turn. Take cards from the draw pile until you have 5 in your hand again. If the draw pile runs out, just shuffle the discard pile to make a new draw pile.
Next is when you take an action for the game. This is the step that's different for each game, but they all involve the objective. For Trash Monster, this is moving the monster. To do this, take the top card from the draw pile. If it's a direction card, the Trash Monster moves in a direction shown. Just like when a player moves their pawn, this movement will be based on the side of the board the player is sitting on. After the Trash Monster moves, he also drops a trash cube in his new spot. Take one of the wood cubes from the supply next to the board and place it on his space. If there is already a trash cube there, or the monster moves onto an obstacle, don't put out a new cube. Now, if the card you drew is a teleport or a hand card instead, the monster doesn't do anything that turn.
One more note on the monster moving. If the direction on the card would move him off the board, move him to the coordinates at the bottom of the card instead. If that wouldn't work either, draw a new card to use.
The last step of a player's turn is moving the timer pawn. Only do this one if you are the last player in the round. Just move the timer pawn down 1 space on the time track at the bottom of the board. The next player then takes their turn. Keep going around the table like this until you win by completing your objective. Or if that timer pawn reaches 0, you just lost. That's everything you need to know to play Trash Monster. Let's take a quick look at those other games. In Mushroom Forest, you'll be gnomes collecting mushrooms for your dad's special birthday dinner. That sounds easy enough, but watch out. Some of the mushrooms are magical and will teleport you all around the map. In another planet, you'll be fighting windstorms on an alien landscape, but with careful planning, you might even get that wind to work in your favor. The last of the games is Monkey Temple. While exploring the jungle, your research team has stumbled across an old abandoned temple. Figure out the pattern behind the mysterious golden statues to unlock a secret treasure. If this sounds like your kind of game, jump over to Kickstarter and help bring it to life. You can find the link in the description below. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time on How to Play by We Play Learn.
Bye!